Rangers' predicted lineup versus Athletic Bilbao. Barry Ferguson opts for 4 changes amid defensive reshuffle. £11 million rated AC Milan. Target could be San Francisco 49ers' first big money Rangers transfer. Raskin hints at a summer exit. Boyd shares verdict on Jack Butland future. Ferguson reacts to shock Rangers and Celtic transfer news amid Greg Taylor. Latest. Want to see these and more Rangers news? Stay until the end. Right, tonight's the night. All eyes on San Mamés, where Rangers face the biggest 90 minutes of their season. And according to reports, Barry Ferguson is set to make 4 changes from the side that ground out a 0-0 draw at Ibrox. Despite playing with 10 men, the predicted lineup shows a reshuffled defense, a couple of bold calls in midfield, and a very clear message. Ferguson is going for it. With Dujon Sterling out for the season and Robin Proper suspended, Ferguson has no choice but to tinker. Captain James Tavernier is expected to step into the back 3 alongside a returning John Souttar and, injury permitting, Leon Balogun. That's a lot of pressure on a makeshift defense, especially against a side as fluid and dangerous as Bilbao. Ridvan Yilmaz is tipped to play out of position, again on the right as wingback, while Jeff Day comes in on the left, another adjustment forced by circumstances. This isn't a settled back line, not by any stretch, but Ferguson doesn't have the luxury of options right now. In midfield, Nico Raskin and Mohamed Diamande are expected to start, both returning and vital, but it's Ianis Hadji who once again gets the nod, and rightly so. He was a warrior in the first leg and then scored a screamer at Pittodrie that kept Celtic's title party on hold. If anyone's earned their place, it's him. Further forward, Václav Cerny, already identified as the danger man by Bilbao's coach, is expected to slot in just behind Cyril Dessers. The big striker has 5 in his last 8, and despite some patchy performances, his goal return has kept him in the side ahead of Hamza Igamane. This predicted lineup speaks volumes. Ferguson is sticking with the players who showed heart, even if it means reshuffling positions. But here's the worry with such a patched-up defense and the pressure of an away European tie. Are Rangers one mistake away from being picked apart? Is Barry Ferguson right to stick with this reshuffled lineup in Bilbao, or should he have taken a bigger gamble, either tactically or in selection, to try and cause a real upset? Right, this is the kind of rumor that grabs headlines but also splits opinion right down the middle. Rangers have now been linked with a potential blockbuster move for Borussia Dortmund's Giovanni Reyna, a player with serious pedigree, serious talent, and some serious concerns. The 22-year-old USA international, son of former Ibrox man Claudio Reyna, is reportedly attracting interest from across Europe, with Rangers named among the clubs eyeing him up. AC Milan were keen back in January, and Dortmund slapped an £11 million valuation on him. But here's the twist. With just 1 year left on his contract and limited game time due to persistent muscle injuries, that price tag might be about to drop. Now, on paper, this looks like statement signing. Reyna's a name. He's got Champions League experience. He's got flair, vision, and creativity. All the things Rangers have lacked at key moments. And let's be honest, it would be one hell of a way for the 49ers to announce themselves. Splashing out to bring in a player of Reyna's profile would send a message across Scottish football. But here's where it gets tricky. Reyna's played barely over 1,000 minutes combined across the last 2 seasons. His issue isn't a major knee blowout or an ACL, it's recurring muscular injuries. And that's arguably worse. You never know when they'll flare up again. And at Ibrox, under the physical demands of Scottish football, that's a massive gamble. There's also the financial side. Even if the 49ers can loosen the purse strings a bit, is throwing over £11 million at a player who's barely featured really the smart move, especially when Rangers still need to fill multiple key areas in the squad. Depth, reliability, and consistency are what this team has lacked. Can you risk it all on a wild card? Would signing Giovanni Reyna be a bold masterstroke from the 49ers? Or would it be a reckless waste of money on a name that brings more nostalgia than actual reliability? Here we go. Nico Raskin has finally broken his silence, and he's made it crystal clear. If he's to leave Ibrox this summer, it's not going to be for a bigger wage packet or a glamorous club name. The Belgian international has said flat out that the only thing that would prize him away from Rangers is a guaranteed starting role. Week in, week out, Raskin's stock has risen sharply in recent months. He's been one of the few bright sparks in a chaotic season, even forcing his way into the Belgium senior squad. And with the 2026 World Cup firmly in his sights, he knows that regular game time is non-negotiable. He's not chasing a bench in La Liga or the Bundesliga. He wants the pitch, the minutes, and the responsibility. That's a proper mindset, let's be honest. He could have talked about money or silverware, but he's chosen consistency and development. And the timing of this interview isn't a coincidence. The links to top 5 league clubs are heating up, and Rangers could be tempted to cash in while his value's high, especially with rumors of an £8 to £10 million windfall being floated. But Raskin's also put the ball in the club's court. He's said it's a balancing act, that it depends what Rangers want and what's on the table. That leaves a massive decision for the incoming manager and the 49ers board. Do you build around a midfielder who clearly gets it, who is playing for more than just a wage, or do you sell now and risk losing that bite in the middle of the park? Meanwhile, on the subject of former Rangers midfielders, how about Billy Gilmour lighting it up in Serie A? Conte's Napoli are pushing for the title, and Italian pundits are full of praise for the Scotland star, proving his worth at the highest level. Raskin's comments feel like a warning. He wants to stay if Rangers match his ambition. So, here's the real question. If Rangers can't guarantee Raskin a central role in next season's rebuild, should they cash in now, or would that be letting go of the one player who actually wants to fight for the badge every single week? Right, let's talk Jack Butland, because this situation's taken another twist. Once seen as untouchable between the sticks for Rangers, he's now found himself watching from the bench while Liam Kelly takes center stage in the most important games of the season. After that horror show against Hibernian, Barry Ferguson made the bold call to drop Butland, and to be fair, it paid off. Kelly came in, saved a penalty against Bilbao, kept a clean sheet, and has looked solid ever since. That's not just form, that's impact. And in Europe, you can't afford passengers. But now comes the question that everyone's asking. Is Jack Butland finished at Ibrox? Has he played his last big match in a Rangers shirt? Well, Chris Boyd doesn't think so. He came out this week and said, no, Butland's not done. He's going through a rough patch, but he's still a top keeper and he believes he'll bounce back. And Boyd's got a point. Goalkeepers don't get the same margin for error. On one slip and you're crucified, especially at a club like Rangers where the expectations are sky high and the spotlight never blinks. But there's also a brutal truth to Boyd's words. If you're not performing, you lose your place. Simple as that. Confidence is everything for a keeper. Butland had it in spades earlier this season, but the errors have clearly rattled him. Right now, Kelly looks more composed, more assured, and more trusted, especially in the high-stakes environment of European football. If Kelly performs again tonight, in Bilbao of all places, it'll be hard to justify dropping him for the rest of the campaign. So, if Liam Kelly delivers once more in Europe, do you stick with the hot hand and let Butland fight for his place next season? Or is it already time to move on from him entirely and find a new long-term number one? Well, this one was always going to stir up controversy. Reports have emerged linking Celtic's Greg Taylor with a shock move to Ibrox, and yes, you're reading that right, a player who's made over 30 starts for Celtic this season, who's played Champions League football and lifted domestic trophies, is now being floated as a potential summer signing for Rangers. Now, why? Because his contract runs out next month and he'd come in on a free. On paper, that ticks the boxes: experience, availability, and top-flight minutes under his belt. But let's be honest, this isn't Football Manager, it's Glasgow. And the idea of Taylor switching sides is more than just a football decision. It's a full-blown political storm. Derek Ferguson, never one to bite his tongue, has already poured cold water on the idea. He reckons it's just not worth the hassle for Taylor, for his family, and for Rangers as a club. And he's got a point. The noise, the pressure, the inevitable backlash from both sets of supporters, all for a left-back who, while solid, doesn't exactly raise the ceiling at Ibrox. And here's the football side of it. Rangers already have Ridvan Yilmaz and Jefte in the squad. Ridvan, when fit, has shown flashes of real quality. Jefte is raw, yes, but there's talent there. Ferguson reckons if you're going to bring in someone new, it needs to be someone who raises the level, not just fills a shirt. There's also the 49ers project to consider. A bold, ambitious rebuild is supposedly on the horizon. If that's the case, should the club really be targeting out-of-contract Celtic cast-offs, or should they be looking abroad, scouting smarter, and going for younger, hungrier options that can bring resale value and real impact? If Rangers signed Greg Taylor on a free, would that show smart business or small club thinking from a board that's promised to raise the standards at Ibrox? If you haven't seen yesterday's video yet, you're missing out. Explosive news about Rangers that'll leave every fan stunned. Go check it out now.